Welcome to Confessions Beyond the Food. I'm your host, Nancy Redland. Let's dig in and get inspired.
Hello, and welcome back to Confessions Beyond the Food. My name is Tracy, and I'm with W3 Sales. I'm the VP of Brand for W3, and we have a guest, a very special guest today. I'm very excited to have Bill Flannery on. He was one of the first people that I wanted to reach out to see if he would speak with us. So, Bill, I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Okay. Thanks, Tracy, and thank you to W3 for having me. This is exciting. It's great to see that you guys are doing a show like this and taking some chances. I love it. So, about me, I'm a principal for M2 Food Service Reps. I happen to represent, I'm up here in DC, so I represent Maryland, DC, and Virginia. I have partners up in Pennsylvania that represent that area. And I've been in and out of food service probably since I graduated college way back when. So that's me. I have 2 kids in their 20s and a wife and a couple cats. So
Awesome. And you also have another name that you go by sometimes.
my AKA.
You're also known as the DC Plate King. Yes, self-professed, I guess. Self-proclaimed.
Exactly. Yeah, you can pick whatever name you want on the internet. You can be whoever you want to be.
Kind of like the food god. You can, legally go change your name, Bill, if you want to.
You could. But yeah, I just tried to pick a handle that was kind of, I don't know, it's kind of cheesy, but it's easy to remember. And it's relevant to what we do in our business, which is plates are one of the things that we sell. We're a lot more than plates, a lot more than other, but it was just an easy handle to remember across all platforms. So that I can tell people.
And we do, and we have a few mutual brands. So what Bill does and what W3 does is the same exact thing. We have factories that we represent all in the food service world. So we're colleagues, across the country. Obviously, we're down in Texas and Oklahoma, and you're up in the DC area, and you said Pennsylvania as well.
Correct. Yeah, that's my partners over there. So
yeah. And so tell me a little bit about, because I know there are some Texas connections. Tell me kind of how you did get started in the industry.
Yeah, sure. So I went to the Hilton School of Hotel Restaurant Management, and my degree was in, I was going to be a hotel guy or a cafeteria guy or a food service guy. And I don't think I was working at the time. And I found an internship that on like the bulletin board, this is the, old school stuff like, ooh, now hiring, you rip the little thing off and you call them up. and it was a food service dealer right outside of downtown Houston called Gerber's Restaurant Supply, kind of like the baby food. And, it was an
place to start.
Yeah. And I got in there. I didn't know had no idea about this side of the business. I didn't know what I was getting into, but, serendipitous type events when I got in there, a lot of the salespeople that were tenured people, because this company had some cash flow issues, which I didn't know either, they left. So all the salespeople started leaving. So before you know it, like within a year, I was a salesperson and I was making, whatever, getting paid commission. And from there on, I never looked back because I liked the sales aspect of the business. I mean, I love food service. I liked working in hotels and having the customer contact, the fun stuff, being a bellman, a front desk clerk, all these jobs. I loved it, but I like the sales piece better. So I fell into it and I just stuck with it, took a hiatus, back in 2002. But since then, that's been, it's kind of been in my DNA. So.
Did you work at a restaurant too, ever as a server? No, just the hotel world.
No, I was a terrible waiter. I worked for Pappas for like a week.
Okay.
I have a lot of friends of mine that work for that company down there in Houston.
Yeah.
I just couldn't, I wasn't a good waiter. I was a room service waiter, but that's a lot different because people expect it to take 45 minutes. But when you're a waiter in a restaurant, they want it fast. And I just didn't, it wasn't my style. So
Uh-huh.
I did do that. I mean, I worked most jobs in hotels, front desk, bellman, doorman, room service waiter, room service cashier, all that sort of
Okay.
stuff. So, yeah, it was
So it
fun.
was a nice natural transition to the sales side on the same, doing the calling on the same types of
Yeah.
customers, I guess, or
Yeah.
industry.
And yeah, it's nice if you've
Mhm.
worked there because there's some relatability. If you've never worked in a restaurant, you might not know to don't show up at 12 in the afternoon to try to sell them stuff. So I learned all that, and it still let me kind of experience that part of the business because was still in and out of restaurants. So you're still there, but it's in a different,
Right.
as a vendor. So
So I want to I want to kind of focus a little bit on, since I do branding and you are
mhm.
a master of branding yourself, branding your company, and helping promote, I guess, the brands of your factories that you represent. I would love to hear about how that all came to be. Like, what was your plan? Did you have a plan? Did you fall into that? How did that all start? When did you
It's
get
all
going
planned.
with the social media side and that part of it?
It's all planned, I guess, a little bit. You
Hmm.
plan to do something, like you plan to do the podcast. You probably don't
Right.
really know what it's going to look like when it finally reaches, you're learning along the way. And with me, the whole social media stuff and the branding stuff, I mean, part of me learned that way back when I started this business called the Texas Grill Brush that I've had since the 90s. It's a product, it's a brand. And I started that when I was with Ed Rodon. So I learned about the internet back then. Like I built a web page. I learned how important it was to be easy to find. And I think, easy to find and easy for customers to understand what you do or what you offer. And I think the internet is a great place for a lot of us to, to showcase that. It's very dynamic. You can create a lot of content. You can do it quickly. You don't have to spend a lot of money. And I found that I gravitated towards that social media and that sort of stuff just because, again, I enjoyed it. It was a great way for me to connect with folks, and the branding piece. Like I said, the Texas brush. You have your trademarks, you have your stuff like that, but it was it was just something that I enjoyed and I learned along the way. So, do I have formal
Well,
branding expertise? No, but
you're definitely not afraid to try new things. I mean, I really encourage everybody to go listen to some of Bill's things, because you're fearless in my mind. You just go out, you do whatever's kind of quirky or goofy or just off the cuff, or
yeah,
but to me it's hilarious. I don't think I laugh out loud when I scroll on a post as much as I do with your content, and I'm being
yeah.
for real. Like I have a giggle because it's just funny. So I mean, tell me about how you do it. Like it's just you. It's just you going about your day. And tell me or tell people a couple of the things, like the fork of the day, some
Yeah,
of these
sure.
interesting little shows that you have.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, I think as salespeople, we're naturally curious. We want to learn. We
Hmm.
want to, we try to be good listeners. We're maybe not always good listeners, but, and, I always want to learn new things, and I want to learn new things that can improve what I do for my factories and what I do for myself. And this piece of the puzzle to me was very important because I already learned early on to talk face to face to customers because that's what we did when I started out. I learned how to talk on the phone and all that stuff. I was like, okay, well, this medium, all these different platforms are new ways for me to talk with or to customers. And that's kind of how I viewed it. And I thought, okay, how can I talk to customers in a way that's not a turnoff? How can I not use this and abuse it like it's some sort of way to jam advertisements in people's faces? Because we all know nobody likes that. I don't like it. So my feeling was always, why don't I try to humanize it? Why don't I try to be myself? Maybe myself will alienate some people. They might be like, I don't like him. But that's how the world
Right.
works. I
Mhm.
mean, you have to be who you are in real life and on social media. You can't be two different people. It's not sustainable. At least it wasn't for me. I couldn't be
It's
one
not
way.
genuine, and people will read that as
They see
being,
right through it.
you
Yeah,
know,
absolutely.
mhm,
And
100%.
yeah, so and I had the benefit of being able to practice a lot. Like I was early on in Snapchat. Like I I promoted I signed up to help promote one of Gary V. Gary V. Gary
Uh-huh.
Vaynerchuk. He's a huge like
Yeah.
social media guru. So early on, he had an opportunity to help promote a book. It was like his second or third book, and all you had to do was sign up and say, "I want to help you promote your book." It was a genius crowd marketing thing that he put out because he got all these people for free to promote his brand,
Right.
his book.
Okay.
But along the way, I met a lot of people and I learned. It was like you just jump into the pool. And I didn't know, I had no expectations. I didn't get paid. I got a book. I got to kind of be part of a little club for a little bit with Gary Vee. But that got me intrigued about this whole, how things were evolving and evolving very quickly with the video, visually, all the visual aspect and the ability to create your own content that was yours to own. When you create content like your podcast, this is yours. This is your intellectual property.
That's right.
This makes you different from your
Mhm.
competitors. It makes you
Mhm.
interesting to customers. All these things can be accomplished with effort and creativity. So I just I practice with the camera. You get this. This is the first step. You do
Right?
this, and you look into it, and you don't take yourself too seriously. And
Uh-huh.
it's as simple as documenting what you're doing. A lot of what I do is just telling people, today I'm doing this. So you don't have a script. You're just basically
No,
mapping out what you're
but
doing,
the
and
way you do it, Bill, the way you do it is, yeah, this is what I'm doing today. It's like the funniest, and we met in Baltimore at a sales training recently, and I was like, what is it? The way you talk, you're like, is it monotone? You
well,
said some way that you speak. I don't
yeah,
remember.
yeah. It's just, I mean, different platforms need different voices too. I mean, I'm not saying you're
Mhm.
changing dramatically, but you might tone it down for LinkedIn a little bit. You might go a little more zany on TikTok. You might be a little more visual on Instagram, Twitter. Everything is different. But
Right.
in the long and the short of all of this is, it's not magic. You have to practice. If you practice talking into the camera thousands of times, which I've done, about some of it purely meaningless stuff, that's not the point. Not everything has to be a work of art. It's more about getting that comfortable repetition. It's like sales calls. You might make 100 sales calls and only one results in anything tangible. You're going to have little wins along the way, but same thing with social or any sort of marketing. You have to practice a lot and you have to be willing to take risks and you have to have fun with it. And if you could do that, I mean, it's worked for me. I mean, I'm not, I'm not a model. I'm just a regular guy that sells forks that is willing to put myself out there.
Exactly.
And
Have you ever deleted any posts or any stories or anything you put out there? You're like, oh gosh, no, that wasn't right, and delete it, or just leave it, let it go.
I try to be, you probably already know I'm not very controversial. I talk about things that are pretty mundane so that I
Mhm.
don't stir up a lot of opinions. And, not many people are going to be offended by me talking about forks. They're going to be like, oh,
Right.
I hate forks. They've really hurt my feelings years ago. It's not going to
Yeah.
happen. So,
Right.
my opinion is whatever. I don't talk about stuff like that. But I mean,
Right.
there's plenty of stuff I haven't posted, maybe because I don't
Mhm.
like it
Right.
or whatever. But the funny thing is that we don't decide what's good. You could create a great piece of marketing collateral that you think is amazing. Everyone in the office thinks it's great, and it
Right.
flops. It doesn't do
Yeah.
jack. Customers doesn't
Yeah.
resonate, and you're like, what the heck? I thought it was great. So that's again, it's about volume. Cringy.
Right. And then
You have
one
to
thing
put it,
that's maybe you think is weird is the, big hit that people really do resonate with. You never know.
yeah, 100%. So you
Mhm.
can't, you just, as a creator, and I call myself a creator because that's what we're all doing.
Mhm.
We're creating
Mhm.
content. And, we have some goals with our content. Everyone has goals.
Right.
They don't have to be immediate goals. We're not creating transactional content where we're
Mhm.
advertising like at QVC. That's not what we're doing. We're just
Right.
building relatability. We're building connection with people, and it takes time. You have to be patient, and you have to put out a lot of content because you have a big audience. The audience, unless you want to have a real
Right.
narrow niche and talk about something very specific like welding or painting your nails or glasses, or forks. But that can segment your audience a little bit, but it just takes a lot of practice. Lots,
And I
lots
think, yeah.
cringy amount of content.
Okay,
Cringy.
what's your most cringy moment? Maybe you're out on the streets of DC or wherever filming, and it's just like, something awkward or crazy or embarrassing that happened to you.
I mean, honestly, I've done some stuff where factories scratch their heads. This is
Uh-huh.
pre-pandemic, and they just,
Right.
well, we don't like that. We don't this or that, and I usually say, well, the audience liked it,
Hmm.
and if you want to create awareness for your brand, you got to loosen up a little bit, because
Right.
maybe what you're sharing, what you think is on point and on brand and all nice and tight, isn't getting any engagement. Like
Right.
nobody gives a crap. So at the end of the day, you want people to give a crap, whether they give
Hmm.
a crap about you or your products. And 9 times out of 10, we all know this in food service, it's about relationships. So you want them first to like you and put a smile on their face and make them feel comfortable. And are they all buyers of our products? No, but that's not you can't do it like that.
You can't.
No, you
And
just
you want
have
to
to.
be
Yeah,
the person that they think of if they do want to buy forks
yeah,
or plates
exactly.
or whatever else the product might be. They're like,
Yeah,
who's that guy that makes me laugh, that knows his stuff?
yeah,
I'm gonna call him. I'm gonna message him, makes
yeah,
you
100.
an industry, leader.
Yeah, it's just it's a process, and everybody has unique personality traits that make them different from the next person. And if you're willing to kind of share those in a way that's comfortable for you and that's comfortable for your factories or whoever might be looking over your shoulder,
Right.
then you're going to get results. Now, if you only want to post pictures of products, you know, go for it. But I don't think you're going to get the results that you're
It's
really
not the name
searching
of the
for.
game anymore. Yeah.
No, products are products, and
Right.
products in the hands of like a good like a plate is nothing until a chef creates something to put on it.
Hmm.
And our stuff, we're problem solvers, and we need to this is a lot of some of this stuff's exercising your creativity. This podcast, it's an example of
Hmm.
are you going to get a bunch of sponsors that come in and pay for the podcast? Is not the point. The point is to have fun,
Right.
have some
Right.
fun people on your show, build an audience that likes what you talk about. And we're in sales. If it leads to a
Mhm.
sale, you'll figure out how to get it there. I
That's
mean,
right.
it's not
The
a
relationship
direct.
is there on the other side. Hmm.
Yeah, they'll be like, oh, someone will say out of the blue, I really love your podcast. Can I be on it? And maybe it's a person that could be a customer. I don't know.
Hmm.
It's just the way it works. But because you put yourself out there,
Yeah,
those
I appreciate that. Yeah, we
those things
we
happen.
love kind of pushing the boundaries and, like you said, learning new things all the time and just, putting ourselves out there and, see where it goes, really.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
it's
Yeah,
fun.
you
It's fun.
you have to take you got to take risks. You're entrepreneurs. That's what we do. We take
Right.
risks, and content's not that much of a risk. The risk is not doing it. And in 5 to 10 years from now, seeing how the landscape has changed so much, and you didn't start early, so you're playing catch up.
Right.
You're trying
That's
to catch
right.
up with other people.
And we'll have to change and evolve as your content might change just slightly over the next 5-10 years. Who knows? I mean,
I'll be much older. I'll be
you'll be doing TikTok dances or something still, probably.
Well, they'll probably have an age appropriate social media platform for me.
Right. Yeah, I'll be on that with you.
You have to prove your age to
you're
get
cut
in
off.
Yeah, you can't.
Not that you're old enough to get in. Yeah.
But I mean, it's amazing how many people I've met through social. Not all my peers in this business, but people in other fields that are doing the same thing. They're trying to create their own personal brand, and they're trying to become an expert about what they do. And how can you do that at scale? You can do it.
People are experts, but we're not presenting ourselves out to the world as that. It's just like, oh, I have an email address, I have a website, I am an expert if you talk to me. But putting yourself on all these platforms, showing that is just a whole different game.
Yeah, I'm an expert of forks. So
you are. I just want one of those little boxes, fork of the day.
Yeah, I have them. They're here.
But
it's changing, man. It's evolving. I mean, it's definitely changing, and our industry is changing. I mean, before I would say, 2015, 16, 17, factories didn't really care if you were doing social media.
Right.
They didn't. Now I think they're realizing, okay, this works. This can work. We have to figure it out. And they're looking at us as the marketing arms of their businesses in a lot of cases to bring them ideas. I mean, I just had a factory call me today that wants to shoot videos next year. Shared cost. I never asked my factories to spend their own money on something that they don't believe in. I will spend my own money on it, or our company's money, if my partners agree. And if it's successful, then that factory, I'll take the risk myself. The factory will come back and say, we want to do this now. Now, I won't give them my collateral. Like if I produce a video and I pay for it, guess what? It's my property. But if they want to share in the cost and we do it together, which I would prefer in most cases, then it's theirs. I'll keep it. They'll keep it.
And I think that's really new for our industry. Really new. Yeah. Some people are not on board. Some are kind of getting there. Some are doing it. But I think it's very new concept for. It is
very new. And that's why I don't expect people that aren't comfortable with it or aren't ready for it to do it. But if I'm ready and good for my business, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. And we are, yes, our job is selling, but we are considered a sales and marketing organization. That's what we call ourselves. So we have to do both.
Yeah. We have to do the
same thing.
Yeah. I say we have to do it. I mean, no one's saying, hey, Tracy, and you have to do a podcast. I'm sure nobody said that to you.
No.
No one said, you're going to lose a line unless we get a podcast out of you. But you're smart enough to know, like, hey, this is good for business. I see other people doing it. What's food service? Why is food service so different that we're allowed to not be? We're great at making products. We're great at delivering products, but we're not so great at marketing. Why are we allowed to not be super good at marketing? It shouldn't. We should be all lift ourselves up, collaboratively, because it's important for the survival of our industry. Honestly, I mean, if I'm not good at what I do and my factories aren't good and, we don't do anything beyond just what we used to do, we won't have jobs, man. So,
yeah. I mean, there's still people that are just, taking orders and that's all they're doing, Yeah. We want to do more.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. Cause I think it makes sense. I mean, and it works. So I don't do it just for fun. I mean, I'm a greedy salesman too, I guess. That's what my daughter says. It's like, Dad, every time I talk to you, turn it into business. And I said, yeah, isn't that beautiful?
Right?
What's wrong with that?
Nothing's wrong with that at all.
No.
Okay, I've got another question for you. We do this on every podcast. So
Sure.
the name of it is Confessions Beyond the Food. So I'm going to ask you what your confession is.
My confession, like something that I've done that I'm not proud
About-
of, or
No, about anything. It can be a confession about the food service world. It could be a confession about food, something you like to eat.
I mean, I can tell you a funny thing that we did at Edward Don when I was there.
Okay. I'm ready to hear it.
With Pete Angenin and Jeff Heaney and a few other people. So I'll try to make it quick. So we would go into customers like a cold call and we ask them, hey, can we quote some of these products that you're using? We see stuff on the shelf that we knew we had. And we thought, would you mind letting us do a price comparison? And oh yeah, sure. Go ahead. Take an inventory and send me a quote. So I take the inventory, I'd send them a quote. You call them back. It's like, oh yeah, we didn't, the typical, you knew they didn't look at it. I knew they didn't look at it. I could tell because I gave them good pricing. So that's cool. You're not going to look at it. So what we would do, and we didn't do it a lot, we did it a few times. We called it the virtual quote. And we would send them product. We would take things that we knew they used, maybe saran wrap, high volume stuff, and we would put it on an order and we would send it to them. And they would get this order and then they would call and be like, hey, I didn't order this stuff. I'd be like, oh, man, what'd you get? All this stuff. Oh, that's a mistake. And then they would say, ultimately, since you turn that quote into something tangible, they would say, we're going to keep these handful of items because your price is good. So that was we did a lot of like crazy, I'd say crazy stuff, but things that were not condoned when we were in sales. Right. We were, we thought it was a good idea. I'm sure they were mad when they got the return at Edward Don, but it was a creative way to get the customer's attention. Not a bad way.
No, and they can return it if they don't want it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's not that great of a confession, but that's
a good confession, Bill. That's a good one. That's exactly what I was looking for.
It's relevant.
It is. I appreciate you so much. Well, thank you for being on.
You're welcome.
And we will chat soon. Come on another time and we can chat some more.
Yeah, no, it was great. Thank you for having me. And
thank you so much. All right.
All right. Good luck with this. Bye.
For more inspiration, follow our social media at W3 Sales. Please like, comment, and subscribe. All the things. We would love to connect with you.